Hello, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Carol Jenkins. The show is Black America. And my guest today is Camille A. Brown, a 5-time Tony Award-nominated director and choreographer. We've seen her work shine in redefined work such as Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Hell's Kitchen, Porgy and Bess, Gypsy, and soon she'll be adding Dreamgirls to the list. Camille is also the founder and artistic director of Camille A. Brown and Dancers. And thank you so much for being here today, taking the time out. I don't know how you have the time.
Oh, thank you for having me. I wanted to make time for this. Thank you.
Well, it's fabulous. We were talking, I've seen so many of your shows that, you know, I mean, what a series of years on Broadway, for instance, that you had with both Hell's Kitchen and Gypsy.
Yes.
And nominated for both.
Thank you.
So talk to us about that as we begin. What was that like to have this series of accolades coming your way?
It's very exciting to me because when I first started out with musical theater, my goal was to do one show.
Just one show?
I just wanted to do one show.
Right.
And try it out. And I didn't know how far it would take me. My mom loves musical theater. She introduced it to me when I was a very young age. I call her the aficionado of musical theater. She knows everything. And when my first performance that I was taken to was at 4 years old at the Met. And she took me to see Hansel and Gretel. So I remember being in the audience for Serafina, Damn Yankees, Noise Funk, Jelly's Last Jam. I was there and I loved it. I didn't exactly know that it was something that I could do for a living because normally when you're in school, they tell you teacher, lawyer, doctor, one of those
exactly.
things.
And still they're saying
and they're still saying that. But artist was kind of something like, oh, you do that after school. But I have to say that my parents and my family were very, very supportive of me wanting to dance. And it wasn't until I went to LaGuardia High School that I realized, wow. And I went to the Ailey School, which at the time was on 61st Street, and you would go across the street from LaGuardia. And I just remember seeing the Ailey dancers, and I thought, wow, you can go on tour and do all of this and get paid for it and dance around the world? Oh, I'm in. So I loved it. And just to find my way through choreography, and like I said, I just wanted to do one show. And when you say 5-time Tony nominated, I am thankful for every nomination because it means that I'm being seen.
You are definitely being seen. Now,
Thank
Gypsy
you.
was one of the shows that your mother introduced you to.
Yes. Well, she introduced me to the movie musical version of it.
Right.
So I knew it like the back of my hand. So when George C. Wolfe asked me to be the choreographer, I knew the show. And we of course talked about it, but there was nothing that I had to necessarily research about it. I grew up with that in my bones. So the challenge was, how do you recreate a choreography that is over 40 years old and bring your own voice and your own perspective to it? That's Kevin. He did All I Need Is the Girl.
Right. So, you know, this whole idea of a show that had been around for quite some time.
Absolutely.
And your job is to make it fresh and relevant to the new audiences.
Absolutely. And I loved working and being in the space with George. Like I said, Jelly's Last Jam and Noise Funk were some of the shows that I was deeply inspired by when I was younger. So to be in the room with the man that made that all happen was something that I find a tremendous gift. It was something interesting that I found that people, when I said I was doing Gypsy, they thought, oh, well, that's different for you. Oh, that seems like a stretch. And I thought, wow, I didn't realize how much people put you in a box. And just because you can do something like Hell's Kitchen doesn't mean you can't do something like Gypsy. And like I said, I grew up with Gypsy. I grew up with the old Broadway golden age. I grew up with that. So how could I not know? And of course, in terms of a stretch, it's always a challenge. Every project I do is going to be a challenge. But I found the use of the word stretch very troubling. And I thought to myself, you know, don't react. Don't feel like you have to prove yourself. Let the work speak for itself.
Right, right.
And so that's exactly what I did, and I'm thankful that it was acknowledged.
Right, right. Well, I'm a new big fan of following you on your Instagram, which is just phenomenal. A couple of things. One thing that I saw there that you said that you have 3 rules for yourself. What are those 3 rules?
Oh, okay. They change every day.
Oh, do that.
They change every day, but the 2 rules that I did for the new year is just be more internal right now.
Right.
Focus, zone in, go in, and also I always want to make sure that my body is conditioned, because when my body is conditioned, it helps to support my mind being conditioned.
Right,
so those are the 2 things. And I believe that one of the rules that I said at Black Theater United was, whatever room I'm in, always be myself.
Exactly. Yes. I love that. And therefore, people should not be thinking about a stretch for Camille Brown in any way, shape, or form. Well, you talk about young influences, and so we were talking in the green room about, we're both from Jamaica, Queens.
That's right.
And I noticed that you give credit, you raise it up in all of your posts and all. You want people to know.
Yes.
You know, and I told you I was PS 140.
Yes.
Foch Boulevard and 170th Street.
That's right. Yes.
Jamaica, Queens.
You know, I mean, it's like I'm a director, choreographer on Broadway that was born and raised in Jamaica, Queens, New York.
All right, all right.
You know, I mean, it just, how can I not celebrate that?
Right,
you know?
right.
And to represent Black girls, Black women, to represent Black people, it just means the world.
Right, and you talked about your mom's influence. She was the musical expert there and introduced you to all of that. But your dad, you know, you wrote so movingly, you lost him this past year, but he was also a tremendous influence on who you are.
Yes, he was. He was a parole officer and also was a coach for basketball. He coached young boys and in Harlem. And the thing that he would always do, the way he made a play was he used pennies, and they were on the floor, and that's the way he would say what the next play would be. And so I started carrying, at big moments in my life, I started carrying pennies in my bag. Just one, not like 5 and 10, but just one penny just to remember him. And when I was in rehearsals and I was telling him, oh, I'm going to rehearsal, my dad connected what I do as a director choreographer with what he did as a coach. So he would say, go get him, coach. So now that I've shared that story, people are calling me Coach Brown.
I know it, I loved it, you know, and you all always used to say to you, go get him, coach.
Yes.
Right? That's great, I love that story.
And he loved music too. I mean, that's the thing about my parents. Anytime I was in the car, it was music. And you know, they rarely played what I wanted to play, but that was fine. But they played everything from the 60s to the 70s to the 80s, so I was constantly getting musical information.
Right.
So, and my dad also taught salsa too. So I come by it honest.
You and your blood, right?
Yes.
Right. All of this Metropolitan Opera.
Yes.
Experience, not only choreography, but also directing. And talk to us about how that happened on the first one.
Yes. Well, I got a call from James Robinson,
who was directing
Porgy and Bess, and he asked me if I was interested in being a part of the show. And I was extremely excited. At the time, that was the most people that I've worked with. There are over 100 people in that show. And so I thought it was a lovely, it was in 2019, so it was before COVID.
Right.
And it was a lovely experience. I always say that, people always ask me, well, what is it like to work at the Met? And what is it like to work at Lincoln Center? And when I'm starting a project, I'm just focusing on the show. So when I'm asked to do something, I acknowledge, oh my gosh, this is amazing, I'm gonna be at the Met. But on the first day of rehearsal, what is the show doing?
Right.
And then when we get in the theater, I look around and go, oh yeah, that's right, we're at the Met. So, the work, regardless of where it is, the work always has to come first.
Right, right. Remember the old days of opera where people just stood and sang, and now...
Well, I do what the story and my instincts tell me to do. So if you see a lot of moving bodies and I choreographed it, I felt moved to do it.
Right, right. And Fire Shut Up in My Bones,
Oh,
which
yes.
was the Charles Blow story.
Yes.
And, where your dance movements, people would rave about it
Oh,
as well.
thank
The
you.
step move. Talk about how you got those actually into an opera on the stage of the Metropolitan.
Oh, yes. So I co-directed that.
Right.
And Terrence and I first worked together on A Streetcar Named Desire in 2012 for Broadway. That was my first Broadway show. And Carmen was actually in it as well. I did a very short second line scene in the show. And so I was thrilled to do something with Terrence again, and also work with James. James and I co-directed. And I had heard about the show, and I heard there was an HBCU scene. And I said, oh, I can do step, and this is an opera? Let's do it. And it was, in terms of how I prepared the dancers, we talked about the history of the Met. Right. And how at one point Black people were not allowed to be on that stage. So what does it look like for them to represent men on stage of the opera and to no longer be silenced, and to not only use your words but also use your body to communicate? And what a celebration that is. And it's not about making people comfortable. And it's not about showing the performative aspect of dance and Black culture. It's inviting audiences into what the Black culture is, part of Black culture is.
Right, right. And that's certainly, that whole story, I mean, that was one of the first completely Black male operas to actually take place at the Met.
Yes, yes. It was, that was epic.
Right.
I just remember when that opened, and
Right.
And I remember the standing ovation that the guys had. It first happened during rehearsal because I was rehearsing the step dance separate from the opera singers. So then we put it all together. And their response was so in real time and human and visceral, and it was amazing. And then we went to dress rehearsal. And here I am just focused on like, oh no, it needs to be on the one. And they clapped, and they kept clapping, and it made me sit up. And I just thought, I am so proud. I was proud of them. I was proud of the moment. It just felt beautiful.
Right, right. Incredible, incredible work, Camille.
Thank you.
Your dance company, too,
Yes.
Celebrating 20 years?
20 years. I had my first show December 6, 2006.
Wow, wow. And so in the progress in these 20 years, well, of course, you've become very famous, as opposed to, my dance teacher, the Broadway Metropolitan Opera person. So, your progress, in those 20 years.
Well, I was doing everything. I was writing the grants. I was putting together the newsletter. I was actually our tolerance reel. I edited that. I was doing the work of the staff that I have now. So that's one big thing that I'm very happy that I experienced growth in that way. And then I want to shout out Indira Goodwine, who was my company manager, and then she became my managing director. And for a very long time, it was her and I in the ground, working together on the ground. And she was really a champion for my work. And as time went on, I'm really thankful for the community, because there's something about people wanting to contribute to what you're doing that is very special. And people have been very generous over the years. So in this 20 years, I want to make sure that I say thank you to all of the people that made it so I can say it's 20 years. Because you don't do that alone. You may start it alone, but people are there to help you along the way.
I noticed that you were giving thanks to Carmen de Lavallade, who
Yes.
we lost just recently.
Yes.
Talk to us about that. And you posted this fabulous picture, with Judith Jamison and Carmen,
Yes.
face to face, two dance legends.
Yes. Well, that picture was taken in 2012 in the lobby at the Joyce Theater, and Carmen was actually one of my guest artists. And to see Carmen strut along that strip, the street, it was masterful. And I've seen her perform over the years. And we talk about dance, and we also have to talk about what movement within dance is, and gesture. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is saying sometimes it's about a high kick or a big jump, and sometimes it's about a look or a gesture. And Carmen was a master of that. Her relationship to gesture and dance was exquisite.
She was powerful.
Powerful.
I mean, so absolutely powerful. And
Yes.
you said that you had talked with her recently
Yes.
as well.
And
so.
such a kind,
Right.
generous person. Every time I spoke to her, she always asked what was going on, what I was doing, and just continued to encourage me and just share what she thought I had and how she believed in me. And for her, she always picked up the phone.
Oh, I know. She was such a lovely human being as
lovely.
well as dancer.
Yes.
Who were the other influencers in your career that you lift up?
Wow. Well, I lifted up Matthew Rushing,
Right.
one of the most tremendous storytellers. Judith Jamison, who was in that picture, that epic picture.
Right. We had Judith here, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
Fabulous conversation. She is just fantastic.
Yes, the charisma just like oozes through her.
Right.
And she actually, when I did Hell's Kitchen when it was at the Public Theater, she was the moderator for the Q&A that I had about the dancing. And so again, another generous person that always picked up the phone, always took the time to encourage me and lift me up and pour into me confidence that I didn't necessarily have in myself.
Right.
I want to lift up Carolyn DeVore and Brian Hawthorne. Those were two of my teachers from Bernice Johnson. Roger C. Jeffrey.
Right.
Penny Frank, Elisa King, Trish Casey,
Goodness. Right.
Brenda Daniels. You take it in.
Right. And who was the picture on your door when you were a child?
Tony Pierce Sands. Yes, who sadly passed away.
All right.
Very recently.
In your musical history, we understand that you were originally a clarinetist.
Sure. Sure. I was in the Queen's Honor Band.
Yeah.
So that's something.
a big deal. Right. But then you discovered that you could be paid for dancing too.
And I said, okay.
That's it.
Better.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So now Dreamgirls coming up in the fall of 2026. I know we can't talk about it too much, but you're in the pre-production stages of it.
Oh, yes. The train is out of the station, and I am very excited about the team I'm building, the cast that's being put together. I'm thrilled.
Will it be dramatically different from what we've seen the last time around, or will it honor the old shaping of Dreamgirls?
Yeah, this is my, let's count the revivals.
Right.
Streetcar Named Desire, Once on This Island, Porgy and Bess.
Which I saw, I've seen all of these.
For Colored Girls.
Right, for Colored Girls,
yes,
right.
And Gypsy.
Right.
So I have been on the revival avenue many times. So I think the challenge with revivals is how do you honor what has been done before, but also present something new?
Right.
So that is going to be my focus, as it always has been in how I approach revivals.
Broadway is not exactly, or at least we have the impression, it's not exactly a welcoming community, or change my assessment of that, is it?
Well, we talk about glass ceilings, and that's glass that you have to push through
Right.
and punch through. And in terms of it being, that is hard. And I always, when we think of breaking glass, we say that phrase, but if we were to physicalize what that means, it means someone taking their fist and punching the glass. And what do you do when you push through glass? It breaks and it shatters and it tears and it hurts and it cuts. And so that is part of what it is when you are stepping into something new, or you've stepped into something that people have not done in a very long time. There is definitely a toll. So I don't want to say that it has been easy, because it hasn't.
Right.
But my parents always taught me, be myself, and you don't have to scream who you are. I think just in being is where the power is. And so sometimes you have to teach people how to treat you, and the way you do that is being you.
Right. Well, I don't know. You're going to have a, sort of a messianic approach to the rest of the world, right? We're all going to say, what did Camille have to say about that, about being that? I want to talk about Colored Girls for a minute, because, that I knew Antashaki,
Yes.
and, we miss her talent and creativity and, in the business. What was that like? Reimagining that?
Well, she was actually writing a book about dance when she had passed, and she interviewed me for that. So by the time it was published, it was just a transcript. She wasn't able to put it into the format. But to honor her in that way, it was very scary. The show is dearly beloved, and it's over 40 years old. And there's 1 degree of separation between everybody. There's either someone has directed it, been Lady in Red, Lady in Orange, did the costumes. I mean, someone has done something and has been a part of that. But the thing is, when I was talking to a friend about it and I was sharing how nervous I was, they said, don't even think of it as a revival, think of it as a contribution.
Right.
And it was so simple, but it changed my whole approach to it.
Right.
What do you want to contribute to this legacy, versus trying not to offend or disappoint? So I found it very liberating. It was also one of the scariest and hardest things I've ever had to do in my life.
Right.
And that was my Broadway directorial debut. The first time I've directed a show for theater, and that was for Broadway.
Right.
So there's a lot of pressure. Also, the first Black woman to direct and choreograph on Broadway was Katherine Dunham, and that was in 1955. And fast forward to 2022, that's the distance that it had been from one Black woman to another. So to step into those shoes it's bigger than you.
Right, sure, it's bigger than you. That was extraordinary. And we're going to have you come back, but I do want to ask you the difference between doing the choreography and directing. So you've moved from concentrating on dance moves to the entire concept of it. What was that like?
Yeah, I feel that choreographers are directors, because I think sometimes the misconception is that choreographers are only focused on steps. And it's about storytelling. Who, what, where, why, how.
Right.
Especially in musical theater. So I've been directing my own company for 20 years. And so it's not that this is new, it's in a new arena.
Right.
And there are different aspects of concert dance that are not there in musical theater. And there are a lot of things that I need to shift and learn and figure out an approach and all of that stuff. But in terms of the storytelling and collaborating with other creatives, I've done that with my own company. So all of the things that, the piece that I just did, I Am, has projection, lighting, costumes, the Tolerance, I had a dramaturg, also set designer as well as for I Am, but I'm constantly working with creatives.
Right, right, sure. And the 10th anniversary of Black Girl?
Black Girl Linguistic Play is very interesting because my agent at the time, Pam Green, asked me what I wanted to name the piece. I didn't know. And names are very important to me.
Right.
And I thought, the first thing I thought was Black Girl. And I thought, oh, I'm gonna lose an audience because people are gonna see Black Girl and they may look away. But then at the same time, people may see Black Girl and lean in and wanna go see it.
And they leaned in.
And they leaned in, and I'm
Sure.
thankful for that.
And it's there until February 1st.
That's right. I'm so excited.
Great, great. Well, thank you so much, Camille A. Brown, for being with us today.
Thank you.
I mean, the world lost a clarinetist.
She was marvelous. I wish you heard her.
But gained, you know, quite an artist. Thank you so much.
Thank
Camille.
you.
And you can still catch her work in Porgy and Bess at the Metropolitan Opera until January 24th. Look out for the revival of Dreamgirls coming this fall, or visit her website at CamilleABrown.org to keep up with the dynamic work she's doing. And that is it for us at this time. Thanks to you two for joining us. I'm Carol Jenkins. The program is Black America, and we will see you the next time. You're fabulous.
Oh,
Thank
thank you. Thank you.